Good afternoon, beautiful beings of light. Welcome to the Crone Zone, Conversations with the Ancients. My name's Priscilla, and this is my co-host, Heather.
Hi.
Welcome. How are you doing today, Heather?
Doing good. Doing good.
Good.
Things are going to get better.
Cards for the show today?
Yeah, I think so.
I actually pulled one, and it was kind of interesting. I forgot to put up our presentation so people can see what we're doing today. I think that picture is actually from Isla del Sol, which is where they are supposed to have landed and created mankind. I think that's what's in there. Kind of cool though, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a beautiful.
That's after the lake filled up.
Yes, we'll get there. We'll get to that. Hey, Akila, how are you this evening?
Hi, Akila.
I think that's going to be really neat. Hi, MJ. Nice to see you, ladies. Tonight's all about Lake Titicaca and Heather's remote view, but of course we'll have to talk a little bit about it. So
you know what it is to start with.
Yes, and maybe explain to people that aren't familiar with it what it is. So
yeah.
I'm going to let you, I'm going to take this down. And can I just do my one card?
Do your one card, and then I'll go through the six.
Yeah, thanks. I'm reading from the Earth Magic Stephen Farmer's deck. Earth Magic. And the card I pulled today was the whale breaching.
Cool.
I thought that was pretty cool. And the message was go out and do something different. Get a new perspective on whatever it is that's bothering you or your whole life. Get a new perspective. This is an opportunity to do some breaching of old thought patterns to open up different worlds and different perspectives. That's kind of neat for tonight since you're doing a remote view.
Yeah. different
worlds.
Yeah. And the six that I've got, the very first one, us, we are creating. It's called birthing, but that means we are creating. And sometimes what slows us down a little is, it says writing, but it's like we're always being told to write everything down, record what we come up with. And sometimes that slows down our creative process a little. So sometimes it gets in the way. Of course, while we're all doing this, our our spirit is loving everything and everybody, sending out love. And our humans are using our intuition to know what to do. So yes, we are creating, but we are using love and intuition to do it with.
Okay. That's perfect. That's what creating our new earth.
That's right. And it says, sometimes, that writing that gets in our way, that documenting everything, and it slows us down a little bit. They said, meditate or offer prayers or do whatever else you need to do. I mean, maybe you're meditating while you're writing or something, but that will help get us through the storm. And let's face it, we are in some storms.
We are in a storm.
Yeah. But it will take care of that and get us to move through and keep going. So, just keep doing what you're doing, loving and using your intuition.
So, hey, Valerie and Teresa, welcome.
Hi.
Welcome, ladies. Well, those were good cards.
Yeah, they were. It's kind of funny, not funny, haha, but there always is something that they're saying that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, resonates. That's me.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many of you have ever heard of Lake Titicaca. Yes, we are in an S storm. I can verify that.
Oh, most definitely. And I think I've been attacked as well. I think this is both a little bit of that and attacking my weakest area.
Wow.
For about a month.
Maybe it's the universe saying, we just want to make sure you've got this. So it's one last test on this area.
Yeah, and it's also part of letting go. Yeah, and I also feel like it's part of letting go, switching completely from one institution to a different one.
Awesome.
So I also think it's part of letting go old stuff. So
I love
it's
that.
a monumental, but it's a pain.
Yeah, I hear you.
And it's worrying and to a certain extent, and yet I'm not worried. I said,
Good.
okay, so you set me back this far. That's okay. I'm still going, you know?
Yeah, I do. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Can't
how many
stop.
of you let me get it let me get the banner up real quick.
Yeah.
We love chat participation. So we're going to talk
Absolutely.
about Lake Titicaca. And I don't know how many of you have ever heard of Lake Titicaca, but it's way up high in the mountains in Peru and Bolivia. It straddles the border between the two of them. And let me put this up. Okay. So Lake Titicaca sits high in the stunning, rugged Andes Mountains. It roughly straddles the borders of Peru and Bolivia. The Tinahani Basin in which it sits formed due to the actions of regional faults sometime between 27 and 10 million years ago. Now, you know, all this stuff nobody really knows for sure. Soaring majestically above sacred Lake Titicaca and often cloaked by ethereal mist stand the mystic mountains of Ancahuma and Iyampu. Lake Titicaca is situated at 12,506 feet and covers 3,200 square miles. It's enormous.
It's enormous.
It's
And when
over.
I went there, it didn't feel like it was that big. I knew it was huge, but it wasn't like so big I couldn't handle it. Does that make sense?
Cool. Yes, sure it does.
Well,
It's over 1,000 feet deep. How deep did you have to go? Did you go to the bottom?
mhm.
Oh wow, can't wait to hear about it.
Well,
Anyway, we're just going to do
the
this little
bottom.
introduction thing, and then
Yeah.
she's going to get to her remote viewing. I'm sorry I didn't say that earlier, but I wanted anybody that didn't know about it to have a little bit of information about it. Anyway, it's over 1,000 feet deep and has more than 41 islands, including the famous reed beds, floating reed beds. There, I think I have a picture of one. 25 rivers and many glaciers feed the lake, but there's only one river that flows outward. Rainfall across its large expanse, it adds an average of another 2.6 to 3.9 feet to the lake every year. The single outlet only empties 5% of the lake's excess water. The other 95% is lost by evaporation under the fierce sun and strong winds. I bet so way that up that high up in the Andes.
Yeah.
So here's where it's situated.
And it's huge.
It really is. Okay, Heather, it's your turn.
Okay, so it's soaring majestically above sacred Lake Titicaca and often cloaked by ethereal mists stands the mystic mountains of Akahuma and Yapu. So the Adrian region, Andrian,
No R.
Andean. You got it. Sorry. The Andean region birthed several sophisticated cultures, including the Inca and that of Tiahuanaco. Like I didn't say that right?
I think a Tijuana, kind of Tijuana.
Okay, so like I said, I knew I didn't. Anyway, it venerated high peaks as the abodes of weather deities and nature spirits. And the Inca called their mountain deities Apu, and their goddess of the earth was venerated as Pachamama.
And they still call it Pachamama.
Mm-hmm.
That's another name for Mother Earth.
Yeah. Great condors, traditionally regarded as messengers of the mountain spirits and able to communicate through shamans, also watch over the sacred peaks. They were also down in the middle. so today's people all across the Andes still ascend these mountains, continuing an ancient ritual of communion with nature spirits and the weather gods.
Oh, I want to do. Sorry, I catch up. Look at the size of this Andean condor.
I would not want to be her.
I do. I would not want that beak anywhere near my face.
That's what I said. I do not want to be her.
Isn't that thing huge?
She is brave
I
or
say so.
stupid, one or the other.
I'd
I
say
mean,
so.
brave. She had to talk it into being there.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So Lake Titicaca has three main islands: Montana. I can't say it. I
A
said it earlier.
Montani.
A Montani, and Isla de Luna, the island of the moon, and Isla del Sol, the island of the sun. They figure richly in archaic Andean myths, and ruins of enigmatic temples are scattered throughout the hilly islands. Legends say that long ago, in a forgotten time, the world experienced a terrible storm with tremendous floods. The lands were plunged into a period of absolute darkness and frigid cold, and humankind was nearly eradicated. Sometime after the deluge, the creator god Viracocha arose from the depths of Lake Titicaca. Journeying to the islands of Sol, Luna, and Monte, Viracocha commanded the sun, Inti, and the moon, Mamakilla, and the stars to rise. Next, going to the island of Tiahuanacano, he fashioned new men and women out of stones and sending them to the four quarters began the repopulation of the world.
Yes. And Lake Titicaca is the highest navigable lake in all of South America and is said to be the world's largest mountain lake, covering 3,200 square miles. It's huge. It's 118 miles long, 50 miles wide, and nearly 1,000 feet deep. In some areas before where we know it was deeper because you add that to it. Anyway, for centuries, there have been legends, tall tales of hidden cities beneath the surface of the lake. True. Much like stories of sightings of the Loch Ness Monster, local fishermen and divers alike swear that they have located a submerged city. Yeah. In 1967 and again 2000, the Bolivian government authorized scientific expeditions to see if any of these stories were true. And the researchers discovered numerous totally submerged stone buildings, including finely cut stone paved paths, and a 660-foot by 160-foot stone temple.
Wow.
Read about that later. Anyway, while researchers still have questions about who actually built and inhabited this now submerged city, they've suggested that it may actually be pre-Inca, which would place it in pre-15th century CE.
Wow. 15,000 years ago? Plus
Yes,
ours. Plus, oh my
15,
God.
pre-15th century.
Yeah. Wow. Regardless of who built the submerged city, Lake Titicaca is revered as a sacred site by the indigenous people of South America since before the Incas inhabited the area. Within the massive lake are several islands. Each are associated with various Incan gods and various planets as well. There's a large and developed lore surrounding the lake, including a belief that a supremely important Incan deity that disappeared, Viracocha. For the Inca, Lake Titicaca is sacred because their creator deity, Viracocha, emerged from the lake and then traveled to Tiahuanaco to create first human beings. Viracocha's son, Inti, and daughter, Mamakilla, taught men to farm and women to weave clothing and transitioned the first creatures from subhuman to more civilized beings. Interesting.
And I got to tell you all, I visited it before I read this. And when I'm reading this, I'm going, I saw that, or I knew that.
That's
So
cool.
it's kind of verifying for me. I feel much better about everything I thought.
Cool.
Okay, so that would ultimately give light to the earth, namely the sun, moon, and stars. The largest of the isles, Isle de Sol, aka Island of the Sun, is believed to be the home of the supreme Inca god, Inti, the son of Viracocha.
Viracocha.
Viracocha. Okay. And on the island of the moon, the goddess Mama Kila resides. She's the wife and sister of Intai. Yep. Okay. And on her isle are a number of ruins, including what used to be an Inca nunnery on the island's eastern shore. That must be the nun. Anyway, the island of Titicaca is said to have been the residence of a very last purebred tribe of Inca. Islam Amantani, the island of the Catanuna flower, is associated with the creation of the stars within the heavens. And while the lore associated with this lake and its peoples date back to as early as 300 BC CE, much of the history is lost. Excuse me, I'm going to shut the door so the dog shuts up.
I hear Xena.
Come on.
Though the Inca people were certainly not the first to inhabit the area, nor the only people to hold it as sacred, over time a tradition developed among them that the Inca were created at Lake Titicaca. Since they were created at the island of the sun, and by the sun god by definition, this makes them the center of humanity, the primary creation of God, and literal descendants of the gods. Even the founder king of the Inca, Manco Capac, is said to have been created by the sun god. For that reason, Lake Titicaca and its islands and people are sacred to those who embrace the legends told about the origins. Wow.
And I can believe it.
So there you go. That is the basics. And she'd already done all her remote viewing by the time I finished researching and doing this little introduction. And so I guess you get to take it from here, Heather.
Yeah, and you can see this is the book I used for notes. I had 3 pages of it. What I found interesting for myself, besides looking at everything and going through it, was that I would have questions about things like, well, I wonder what the people look like. And all of a sudden I'd be where they were. I also time traveled, evidently, because if I had a question, I moved to that time era to answer it.
It is so amazing.
I was no longer in the ruins. I was where there were activity, and I could see what it originally looked like. And
that's way cool.
It was very, very cool to me.
Well, where do you want to start?
Well, what I did was I took a look at it from above first, just looking down at it. Huge, large areas, and it reflects the clouds. That's what I was seeing. It's very quiet. It was like when I used to water ski with my first husband, we would go around 5 or 6 because the water would be like glass.
Yep, me too. As often as possible. Right. We love to ski. Lay down. Lay down.
That whole lake is like that.
Right.
Just like glass. As a comment on there was great for water skiing. If you can stay up that long, you know. And there were, besides the islands, it seemed to be a lot of peninsulas. And it didn't necessarily, it looked it reminded me a lot of, those trees that used to grow in the seawater down in Key West, and it was just all roots.
Mangroves.
It reminded me of the mangroves, because that's like floating islands. It's just they filled in some. It's still just floating. It was just roots. It reminded me, some of those islands reminded me like that. And yet it kind of looked like ordinary ground where the mangroves themselves had spread out a little bit. It was well populated. Some of those bigger islands were well populated. You could find the gardens and the yards and stuff like that.
And what time period are you looking at?
Right. At that moment, I was looking at today.
There
were things.
Okay, those the floating islands are mats that are woven together.
Right. But it looks like they're woven together kind of like the mangroves were.
Okay, gotcha.
With roots. That's what it reminded me of. Okay. And on the surface, if I was standing at the side of the lake, that's where I was next. I'm just stand here and look at it. And again, it was smooth, and you could see the mountains and the sky, and just the peaks. You really didn't see much of anything as far as flat goes. Flat was the lake.
Wow.
And I got the impression then, and you actually read about how there was a lot of water and it melted off. And what I got was that it was during the Great Flood. You know, the Bible talks about the Great Flood, but we know there was a Great Flood, and then there was a lot of melting. And what it did is it melted into that, and so the lake just automatically raised up. Anybody who was not on their way out or near the edge of the mountains didn't make it.
Are you talking about the end of the last ice age? The water melted, or was it? Okay.
I mean, there was no place for it to go. Remember, there's only one river. That I was saying, why is there nothing living? Everything, and when it started melting, just deluged the place. And it reminded me of Machu
Picchu.
Fun. I can never say it. Anyway, it reminded me of the pictures of that, where there were levels of it.
Terracing.
Yeah. And some of the farming was that way, but also before it filled in, there was flat ground, like farm ground, and irrigation. And it had all been helped by, I'll get into that. The extraterrestrials that were there that started everything, they were helping. Like it said, they helped with the irrigation, they helped with learning what to grow, and they helped knowing what to do.
Okay, so now you're going underneath before today's time.
Yes, now I'm under the water.
And what did you see when you first got under the water?
Actually, I was kind of looking for the first ruins that I could find. And I was going to say, I also got the impression when I was looking out that the water table was going down. I mean, the lake itself was going down. Yes, it has so much wind that, according to what we read, it goes down like 2.5 feet. But it's more than that now. It's going down faster. And
what I researched didn't tell you how fast it was going down. They didn't say anything about how much it had gone down. I didn't learn that. I learned that from you.
Yeah, but it is going down. The feeling I have is that they are wanting to have the lake itself descend and start having these things show up.
Who's they?
The extraterrestrials that were there before. And like the
GFL.
The GFL. They're exposing things that were hidden.
That they want us to see, huh?
That they want us to see. Xena, stop.
Do they have any time period when that is going to, when it's going to shrink down enough? How many feet higher is it now than it was originally? Do you know?
Oh.
Could you tell? Is it like 150 feet under the water that you see all that?
More than that. More than that.
So it really like thousands of feet.
Yeah. Well, not thousands, because it's only about 1,000 foot deep, but below that 1,000 foot is a portal that was an island where the GFL and whoever was helping landed. And it was like the lake was a moat. Nobody could get to it. But when I saw the picture of the condor, I said, they're avian. Whoever these people who helped us were, they were avian, and they were able to just to fly from that one island where they landed.
So that's like Inky and what's his name? Enlil. They were avian. They had
the bird-headed people.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So and I got, some
were
of
they blue avians? Do you know if they were blue avians?
Dark blue. Dark blue.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very cool. And so
Um,
these, can you tell us the story about the avians, how they did that? Are you ready
they're
for that yet?
not quite yet
Okay,
because
sorry.
I was when I went
Anunnaki.
under the water, blue avian. Yeah. Anyway, I went under the water, and it felt like a sacred place.
Oh,
The
cool.
whole under the water felt safe and protected. And I knew at that time there were a lot of myths. I think most of them were true. I get the feeling that they were.
Yes,
Uh,
Anunnaki for sure.
mhm. There were a lot of things knocked over. There were a lot of fallen rocks. There were walls that were intact. And what got me was the walls. It wasn't, you had asked if were they humanly built or were they um, was their
They
help?
were
And I
built
bet
by they were you're saying they were built by the
they
avians.
were, yeah, they were very much helped, like the pyramids in Egypt. There was a way because those walls that the ones that I saw still standing were solid. They were not pieces of rock put together. This was a solid slab, smooth, and they had solid slabs. And I'm going, there's no way the humans did that by themselves.
Right.
They had to have help, but there were solid slabs. And then I went and saw the temple. Now, there's more than one temple. The more I look at, there's a lot of small ones, but the one I saw was up on the hillside and built into the rock. And you had to climb areas to get to it because the village or whatever, the city, whatever it was around down below it. You had to pilgrimage up to it. It was that
Wow.
big. And
This is all several hundred feet in the water.
oh yeah, it's way down below. Yeah, I
That's
have
so
a
cool.
habit of saying, I want to go see this, and boom, I'm there. I don't know how I got there, don't know how deep it is, except I know it was very deep. But it
Hmm.
is along the hillside. It was one of the last areas, major areas, that was covered with the water. So it will probably appear sooner than most of the little cities
So
and
it's like
villages.
into a cliffside.
Right. It
Very
was built
interesting.
into the side of the rock.
Hmm.
So I had a little drawing, but I don't know if you can see it, where it was
I see
built into the
writing.
it was built into the rock here.
Cool.
There was a little level area for it, but it was built into the rock. So, and most of the houses that were on outskirts, like I said, you had to trek to get to the temple. It was
Interesting.
on sacred ground, and people just didn't live near it. Okay, and there were more things. That's one page.
I love that. I love that. More. Give us
More.
more. Lori says, I love these details. I'm with you, Lori. More details.
Well, I tried to take my time and write down as much. And what's odd for me is that the more I talk about it, the more I say, oh, and this, because I see things that I didn't see before.
Right.
So,
So
that's
ask
what I
your
said.
questions because your questions will bring more details.
Right. So I was going to say, do ask questions if you have anything or comments, because it allows me to see even more.
Well, I
Tell
do
you.
have a couple of things from Leah. She wanted to know how do you know when you're remote viewing and how do you learn to do it? But we'll take questions at the end, okay? I had
Yeah,
those
for the
started.
questions, yeah. Okay. Most things are built large slabs. That's what I was saying. And then
Do
on
they
instead,
resemble in can I ask if do they the things that you saw underneath the large slabs, do they resemble those ones that you see in Peru right now that have seams, but they're so close you can't put a credit card between them?
yes,
Okay.
Most definitely, they were very, very close, very, very precise. A lot of precision in putting these walls together. But like I said, they were solid slabs. It wasn't like a block here, block here, block here, block here, like in Egypt. These, I think the rock was so plentiful, they just did solid slabs for the major
Because they
wall.
just dug it out of the cliff. Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, and those for the major walls. And I did have the other things, but most of those have been falling apart. You know, water moves, so that falls apart. But these big slabs stay. Um,
Wow.
let's see. There were walkways, but I didn't get the impression there were vehicles. They were just big boulevards for everybody to walk back and forth. And when I think about it, I could see stands on either side that you could shop at. But there were a lot of people there, and people brought their different things that they'd raised, or so they bought their food and they bought
So
cloth.
it was like a market.
A market, yeah, it's like they had
Very
markets
cool.
there. You can see people. I could see people milling around quietly. They were visiting areas. At the same time, if they turned around, they could see the vista because they're up on the hillside. So you could look down at the lake areas.
And you're saying the lake that then was much smaller than what it is now?
Very much smaller with an island in it. But
Island
like
in the
I said,
middle?
pretty close to the middle. Um, the impression I get is that was their landing area. It was also a portal.
Wow. The
And it
island
has
itself was the portal, or the
Mhm.
portal was wow.
was on the the portal opened up at the island. I also got the impression that it's still able to be used as a portal, but
Wow.
instead of landing on land, they are in the water.
Interesting.
So, um, yeah, the landing area. Let's see. And this is all what it looked like when I'm describing all the land and the farming areas and cotton
What?
for making
Cotton?
cotton. Yeah, I just all of a sudden saw cotton in the field.
Cool.
Anyway, because they made their materials and um, they had help. Whoever these people that were there, they had they had higher beings helping them, directing them to how to do things, and they were basically happy people. Um,
Did they have the floating islands way back then? Or did that just come with more like the time of the Andes after the deluge?
that came after everything was flooded and it filled in.
Okay. Curious.
They had their own.
She hasn't gone to Aramu Maru. She hasn't gone, but we'll add that to our list of places to check out because I want to go there and try it. That's the one that you stand in front of the door, but you have to be of a certain frequency, I think. That would be so cool.
Okay, I would
Hi, Hugger.
write it down. Write it down. Okay. This was a cultured group. The group that I saw was cultured. They had their own language and they wrote in their own language. I couldn't read it, but you could see signs that they were writing. It was civilized.
Wow.
And they had help with their planning for how to get water because a lot of the water came from the rivers that went down to the lake. And then, of course, if it's close to the lake, they irrigated from it. So
Right.
they had help on learning how to use it and how
Did
to
you
use
see
it
any
effectively.
animals? Did you see any kind of animals down there?
I just had yak come in my head. They're hairy animals. like llamas and
Well,
things
yeah, it's high up in the mountains, 12,000
Yeah.
feet. You'd have to be hairy. Wouldn't you?
and goats and things like that. The goats, that's their milk. They didn't really have cows so much, although they
I,
did have yaks.
I didn't realize it was on the shores of Lake Titicaca. I didn't realize that. I don't know where I thought it was, but interesting. So that portal, you've seen pictures of it. In fact, that was kind of what I was talking about. If it looks similar to those pictures, but let me see. Do you know what I'm talking about? This interdimensional gate in Peru?
No, I haven't been there.
Okay. But we will.
But I wasn't looking I was looking in the lake,
In the lake, not at anything
not
else.
at anything else. So I
Okay.
would have to go back. And like I said, when it started flooding, it flooded very, very quickly with all the melt off. And if people weren't already on their way out and up on the hills, they didn't make it. It just filled up. It's like a bowl when you're rolling the faucet in it, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Did they have like alpacas?
Probably.
Okay. Because that's what is there
yeah.
now.
Yeah. What's there now is a descendant. They're not quite the same.
Sure.
Okay.
It was many thousands of years ago.
Mm-hmm. And
Did they
that's
have any signs? I'm sure you couldn't tell that. I was thinking technology, but I don't know how you'd know.
I know that they had something because they were able to make all those rock walls. I mean, those solid walls. They must have had something.
Right.
And I think they also had something that helped with diverting the water to be
So
where
they taught them how to irrigate and make clothing and all
right.
of that.
So, but I haven't looked that hard at that before. But yes, that's sign of.
Did they have like temples or churches?
They had temples, and the biggest one was the one on the hillside. There were other temples around,
Right.
but they were not. They were lesser, and also they were around so that they could get to them. Because you figure out how big that lake was. Well, before the lake was there, there's still the ground.
Mm-hmm.
To walk
Hundreds
that
of
far
acres,
to get there.
Sure.
Yeah, so they were all over the place.
Millie, where she's looking at right now is actually before Inca time. The Inca came later.
Yeah, this is
before the Inca, because this is before she's looking under the water before the water level of what it is now.
Yeah, I'm looking at what is under the water now. It may not stay that way because, like I said, it's
Evaporating.
Down. It's going down.
But that's at the behest of the GFL and the if it's the Anunnaki, the avian civilization.
They're wanting to reveal.
They want us to know. They want us to know about it. So
just like in other areas, they're beginning to let us see some things, find things.
That's interesting.
So this is just another one.
And how many civilizations do you think that you saw when you were time jumping and stuff?
Time-wise or area-wise?
Time-wise.
Time-wise. Between 10 and 15.
What?
Between 10 and 15,
wow.
Wherever they were. It's that old. And of course, they still have the mountains. And so there were times when there was something happened and that race got out and another one started, you know. But I've got, there's a whole bunch. And remember, it's such a big area.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes a difference. When I get down to before it filled in to be the lake, the big lake, at the smaller lake, what I'm getting is that it by itself is very deep, and I couldn't tell how deep. But that one area is super deep, and black.
Yikes.
It's not
Very,
blue. It's just,
because it's so deep. It's just
yeah,
black,
it's
dark.
just black.
Did you get any feel that if there was anything down there?
Actually, yes. That's why part of the reason people did not take boats to try to get out to the island. They wouldn't make it.
What's in the black depths?
Um,
Wow.
big snake, like an
Like
eel.
like a Loch Ness monster type thing?
It could be, yeah. Very,
Holy,
very, very dark. I mean, the water is dark. You couldn't see underneath it, but
yeah.
they couldn't get across from their land to the portal where the other.
Because this creature protected it
I think
from
so.
them.
They,
Wow.
you just didn't try to go across that.
Did they have boats then?
Hmm?
Did they have, well, of course they would have boats. If they could build metal walls, they could build boats.
Yeah, but the boats wouldn't go. They didn't have
Did they fish?
only near the shore.
Interesting.
They didn't
In a
have
boat or on the shore?
both, but the boat was like what you see in reservoirs.
Right.
And this is so big that you didn't go that far.
Plus there was a sea monster out there.
Yeah, you never knew. You stayed close to shore so you could make it back,
Wow.
Um,
Hi, White Dragon.
it was like yeah. I didn't get to be too much on that island. I knew it was a place where they landed.
Mm-hmm.
I also knew it was a portal. I also knew I wasn't really welcome, so I didn't go very close.
Are there still entities there around,
Yeah,
around the portal?
they still use it. They still use it. It's just they go underneath the water to use it.
Wow.
That way they can be hidden if they want to be.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still there. It's still there.
Do they appear to any of the locals nowadays?
I was going to say yes, but everybody thinks they're crazy if they think it's wrong.
Of course.
So,
Of course. We know how that works.
Yeah. So,
how many times did I ask you if I was going crazy, if I was nuts?
I can't count. I can't
Exactly.
And if I wasn't so sure that I had seen what I had seen, then I'd say, look, is over there? No, he's right there. He's right there. If I wasn't so sure, I'd have thought I was absolutely nuts.
Yeah, of course.
But through you, I got verification. Yeah, you're right. I'm right here, So, I also got there were some tall grays with it. Or
tall
similar.
grays?
Yeah. Or similar to them. So it wasn't just one entity.
Species.
Yeah. Well, not just one species that was there.
So you got grays and avians. Anything else that you might have seen?
That's all.
Any weird type creatures?
What's weird?
I don't know. We talk about avians like they exist every day in our lives.
I know.
And the grays and yeah.
And it was a major source of our beginnings.
Interesting.
That area. Yeah.
It sounds to me like it was happening at the same time it was happening on the other side of the world.
I think so.
Yeah.
And it's just they were using what was available to use.
Okay, I have a question. Why were they here? Were they here to dig for gold like we think they were in Egypt? Were they here for gold? Or were they here to, I don't know. Why were they here? Could you get any feel for that?
The feeling I get for that is that they were here to set up mankind.
And you said you felt safe in the water. So do you feel comfortable that I don't know. They were here for mankind's benefit.
I think so. Well, I think they were starting. They were starting a group of humans and teaching them how to,
Survive.
these are their pets. Put them together.
Okay, we're getting some good questions.
Okay, go ahead and ask. Mutant creatures.
For some reason,
They were
I just
considered mutants. We probably would say they are, but they were not necessarily considered mutant.
I think mutants would be things that were bred to be that way.
Yeah.
Like in Atlantis.
Like,
That's what
let's see what happens with this happening. Okay, that's what we got. Well, it might be mutant, but there were still experiments going on.
Wow. Were the people there the same complexion as the areas of the people today?
Yeah, darker.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
The dark skin was helping them protect against the sun. Let's face it, they were way up there close.
Here's
But the
another
darker
one.
complexion was to help them.
Do you get any smells when you're remote viewing?
I haven't tried, but I think right now I'm getting fish off the water. The small
That makes sense. That makes sense.
off the smaller ones. I get fish. I get smoke and
That makes sense.
incense in the temple.
Wow.
So
Could you tell what
if I go
kind of
back and look,
incense?
I can find it.
That's really neat.
And there was also incense in some of the houses simply because they burned it.
Mhm.
So
Did you see any artifacts when you were in the temple or in any of the houses?
there were, well, the
The
temple
water
had,
as like now. Does the temple right now have artifacts in it?
yeah, but most of them are broken. They've fallen over, and you can still tell that they were statues or those kinds of things, but I want to say when the water came down and it filled it up so fast that it wasn't just a matter of just letting it stay there and just filling up the sides. It was a deluge and coming from different directions, all the different rivers. And
So anybody, did they know it was coming? I mean, did they have time to leave?
I get the impression that some of them did because they were warned. And if they didn't take the warning, they didn't make it out. But those who were warned and paid attention
right
left. But it was also very cold. They really didn't want to go. Stay in our house and stay warm.
Right. That makes sense. I mean, 12,000 feet is 12,000 feet. It's cold
And they had to go up in order to get out of it. So
yeah,
it's not something that a lot of them wanted to do.
So is the avian race still watching over that area of the world?
Yeah. Because they're watching the survivors and seeing what's happened.
So cool.
Yeah.
They're
and they still come in and check things out. They don't interfere nearly as much as they did, but then when they first started, they needed all the help they could get.
Of course, that makes absolute sense. Let's see. Did they know how to put the creature in the lake? She's obsessed now with the creature in the lake. How did the creature get in the lake? Did the avians put him in? Or was it just there?
It wasn't just there. It was a result of one of the experiments that they didn't want necessarily. And it wasn't one they wanted to put on the earth, on the earth. They wanted, it was made for the water anyway. And I think they weren't sure what to do with it. The impression I get is they didn't know what to do with it, but thought, this is good protection. We'll just put it in the water here.
Wow, that's crazy.
What are we going to do with this that we created? Oh, let's just put it in the water, you know.
Wow. So it's not a prehistoric water dinosaur like everybody thinks of.
Think about how long ago that was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we don't
Thousands
know.
of years.
Yeah. We don't know that it wasn't a mutated one. It's just something they ended up creating. But it might not have been from scratch. It might have been from something else. I don't know.
Yeah, it could have changed some DNA in something that was already here.
They were doing that a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So they were very advanced if they were created. Well,
but not the people themselves, but the people on the island.
Yeah. Yeah. Did the people on the islands ever advance? I guess not. Advance to a higher level.
Aliens. The people on the island were all aliens. And the people on the shore never were out there.
Right. Never
The
met
people on
them.
the island were all gods. As far as the people.
Were they different species, or were they just the Anunnaki?
No, they were different species.
Okay.
Yeah, they were different species. Yeah.
Fascinating. Wow, Heather.
Yeah.
Anything else? That is so cool.
I was thinking about the creatures in the water and
the consortium, yeah.
I'm feeling he's still there, but sleeping.
A sleeping giant.
And he won't go past or above where the island started. Even though there's so much more water in there, he won't go above that crater area that he was in before.
Interesting.
It's a good thing.
Well, they were talking about how the indigenous saw creatures like the Loch Ness monster. If they happen to have their boat out there on the lake, wherever that it is, way down underneath.
It's very, very possible.
That's wild.
Yeah.
We don't know what the creature is. Smog lives. Yeah.
What is it? A smog lives. Yeah. Right.
That's good. Anything else we need to know?
No, I think the impression I get is that more and more will be revealed as time goes on.
Yes, Leah, there's a portal in the lake. The lake itself isn't a portal, but there is a portal where the island used to be, where the aliens landed originally. It's now underwater after the deluge.
Right.
Well, how cool is that? Thanks, Heather.
Sure.
That's pretty amazing.
And I was going to say, I'm sorry, I really can't tell you how to remote view. Because since I was in second grade, I have decided I want to be someplace. I'm there. I don't know how I get there. I'm just there. And the first time I remember is when I went to the animal hospital in the middle of the night to make sure my dog was still alive after being hit by a car. And yes, the vet was leaning against the wall, leaning back in his chair, asleep. I had never been in that animal hospital. I didn't even know anything about it. But I did end up working there. And when I got there, I said, this is just, I remember this, So I know I was there. It was confirming, but I don't know how I get there. I'm just there. I did have to learn. I had to learn because I asked him, why can I only see the outskirts? I can never get into the details. And he said, and I was told I get so excited that I'm actually there that I pop myself back out. So what I need
Yeah.
to do is when I get there, just relax, take a few deep breaths, sit down and just look.
That's
And
so
I,
cool.
and I have finally been able to kind of relax and okay, I see that, Joan, write it down, So
It's neat that you can just do that and write it down at the same time too, because when I was channeling, I couldn't
I
write
had,
it down because you had to write it down. I couldn't write it down. It came out too fast, and as soon as it came out, I forgot whatever it was.
well, when you channeled, you weren't within your body, so you couldn't remember it. Whereas when I remote view,
You're
I
right
am
there with it.
there.
That
And I
is so.
start jotting down everything that I'm seeing. I will say that I spent about an hour and a half on the first part of it, and I ended up with I had to quit. I had a headache.
Oh yeah,
Okay, this is
definitely.
enough. I was focusing for so long that it was difficult to continue.
How many times did you go back there?
The main one, but it was like 3 hours in the afternoon. I did that one in one day, and
Wow.
then when I went back, all they did was give me a little bit of more stuff and tell me a little bit more to write down for more details. But most of it I was able to get at that first 3 hours just continually. But
Oh, I love
yeah,
it. I think it's so fascinating to be able to do that
I
and to
actually did
time
a lot of
jump in different periods to see different sets of what do you call it?
people and yeah, because it was, I'm going, okay, this is ruins. I want to know what was it like and what were the people like when, and boom, I was down where everybody was. I'm going, okay.
Did anybody see you? Did anybody see you? Do you think anybody noticed you?
Yeah, they knew I was there. And for the most part, they kind of ignored me. But every once in a while, I was called by a hawker. So
Is that right?
yeah, and I'm going, yeah, but there's no way I can get that back with me.
I love it. Leah says she's there and she can see the stars. It seems like you can reach out and touch them. That's how I feel about living in Colorado. The stars are so close. It's like, hello, you're right there.
Not as close as in Kansas on the flatlands, because then everything is lower and they're right there. But yeah, they're closer.
What's a hawker? A guy selling his wares.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
in
had
the
a
marketplace.
Hey, look at what we got.
Yeah, he's the one out there going, come here, come here, come here. The
here.
guy in front of the strip club, he's the hawker, trying to get you to go in the strip club.
Yeah.
That's what they're called.
Come on into look at what I got.
So, anything final words on the lake that you would like us to know?
It's all going to come to light eventually. I mean, literally into the light. It won't be underwater.
That is so cool.
So it will all be there
in our lifetime.
Probably not.
No,
There will be some things show up, but all of it not until we're gone. But there will.
Don't you guys want to see an alien walking down the street? Don't you want an alien walking down the street?
According to what I was told, and from some of the people I've seen, I think there are some aliens walking down the street here in Denver.
Oh, I'm sure there are.
So
I'm sure there are. Anyway, thank you so much, Heather. I am so excited. You guys, we're going to do this once a month. Do you remember what your next one's going to be?
No, I hadn't even thought about it. I was just still trying to get more details from this place.
That's fine, but we'll do it again next month. So, yeah, it takes a while to get that kind of information to go in depth like that. And we have a huge list. And Leah just recommended the pyramids in Scotland. How many times have I been to Scotland? I didn't know there were pyramids in Scotland. That really irritates me.
I almost made it to Scotland.
Almost.
I'm 50% Scottish, and I almost made
it. Leah, oh, I love it. Oh, I know they're here. I just want to see a mingling with people in a crowd in New York City. You know what I mean? Walking down the street, like normal. I think that would be so cool.
And sometime when we have a short time, I'll do the stones at Brombeck.
Drombeck, sir. Drombeg, sir.
Yeah, instead of just what they are now, what happened. Since I now can walk, I can now go in different time slots. Now
So
I can find out more.
everybody's thanking you. Thank you from Longmont, Colorado. I'm in Fort Collins, Mr. Floyd, and she's in Denver.
Yeah,
I love that. Dragon says he really likes this format. Oh my God, Randy's going to Mount Shasta. Hope
good for you. It's a wonderful
I
place
to meet my star family. Oh, you'll love it.
Yeah,
Heather and I fell in love with it.
We were up there for about an hour and a half the very first time we went up, and we're coming down the mountain, and before we hit the bottom, I'm going, I won't go back.
Yes. You no more got out than you were ready to go right back. I mean, you had to come down and eat, maybe sleep and stuff. It was fun to wander around. Randy, I hope you have a great time, sweetheart.
And be sure to go to the city park and get some of their fresh water. And I mean fresh. It's straight out of the creek. You just go in and you hold your bottle.
The source of the Sacramento River, I believe, is what it is. Yeah. And the water is so fresh and clear. And you get it. You can just take your jugs down to the city park, plug them into where the water is, and it is just amazing. Okay, we've got another one. I want Heather to remote view the central sub in the earth. Okay.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
Yep, I'm writing it down. I'll put it on our list. I also got that door, which I didn't know the name of in Peru.
It's a portal.
Yes, that portal. Aramu Maru. Aramu Maru, ARAMU, and thank you very much, Millie, for suggesting that.
Yeah, I've seen it before.
Yeah,
I've been through it. I've been through it.
You have?
Yeah, not in this lifetime, but I've been through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember it.
So yeah. Anything you would like us to do?
I'll try.
Yeah,
I will try. It's actually fun. You know?
I think it would be. I'm not surprised. I think it would be so much fun to be able to do that. Yeah. Thank you, Sheila. You guys, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. We're doing pretty
well. I love that word, smash.
Yeah, smash that thumbs up. We really would appreciate it. And good evening, you guys. This was fun. I'm glad you did that.
And have a great night. And it looks like time is up.
time is up. Everybody, thanks for being here tonight. Like I said, we'll do it. We have it scheduled for once a month, but if it becomes popular, I guess we'll have to do more than that.
But thank you all for all your participation and helping me see even more things.
Yeah.
The question, I see more. So I thoroughly enjoy it. Thank you.
Well, I think that was fascinating. I really appreciate you doing that. Yeah. So next Tuesday, I don't know what the show is. I can't remember.
I was going to see what I could find on what the world will be like.
The New Earth. Oh, I think that sounds fantastic. I love that. That sounds great. So we'll be doing a show on the New Earth next Tuesday, but Saturday we have Jenny Brown.
Yes, she's
our
wonderful.
Friend and a fantastic reader. She's coming on Saturday at 8. So if you join us then, she's a lot of fun. She's a wordsmith. She is so clever with words and how she understands how people speak and the words that it's fascinating. So I'm going to ask her to talk about that a little bit. I hope she doesn't mind. Anyway, until then, thank you guys so much for being here. And we love you. Go out and shine your light, because just being here on the planet at this time, it's
very exciting. Sometimes it's not exactly invigorating, and sometimes it's really challenging, but it's very exciting.
Oh my God. And these things that we're getting off the sun right now, the storms, oh my God,
Yeah.
They're hitting me so hard. It just really pisses me off because I really do get
If we weren't where we are now with all of you guys' support, I don't know how well we'd make it.
so true. Anyway,
Thank you.
we love you guys. Please
Thank
come back and visit again. And until next time, take care of yourself.
Take care.
Love you.